It's never been so easy to find out about your DNA. Simple genetic tests can uncover all kinds of detail about ourselves and our ancestry, but they can also foretell trouble, particularly health trouble. Canada is the only G7 country without legislation to protect citizens from discrimination based on what that testing reveals. But that may be about to change. To help us understand the issues, here's Rob Oliphant. He's the Liberal MP for Don Valley West. Yvonne Bombard, she is a genomics health services researcher and scientist at the Li Ka-shing Knowledge Institute at St. Michael's Hospital. And André Picard is here, the public health reporter at the Globe and Mail. And we're delighted to welcome everybody around our table here at TVO tonight. Just before we begin our conversation, let's put up, Sheldon, if you would, this fact file here. Getting to know yourself, a little bit more about the Genetic Non-Discrimination Act. It adds genetic discrimination to the Canadian Human Rights Act and the Canadian Labour Code. It would protect employees from having to disclose or undergo genetic tests, and it prevents insurance companies from discriminating based on your genes. Okay, Yvonne, before we get into actual discussion about the bill, I want you to start us off by helping us understand what it is about genetic testing that tells us about us.
Well, in many ways, genetic testing is and genetic information is the most fundamental essence of ourselves. It is information that can provide diagnostic information like medical tests do when a patient's suffering with a condition and you're trying to find answers as to why is it my child that's suffering these devastating conditions, or is it a cancer patient potentially having a recurrent syndrome in their family? What is it that's happening for us and our family members? And it can provide information that's predictive. If someone in a family that has a recurrent condition like cancer would like to find out, do I also have this predisposition to experience this type of disease in my future? And allows an individual to go out and get a genetic test and to predict whether he or she will face that type of future, but also allow them the very powerful opportunity to equip themselves with screening opportunities, with treatment or management opportunities to actually reduce and potentially prevent that disease from ever occurring.
And Andre, for those who don't know, how do you actually do it?
Well, you get a blood test and goes through these fancy machines, and then you get information. And we can do it. There's different ways of doing it. There's things like 23andMe that you can buy commercially that give you just little snips, little tidbits of information. And then there are some people now who get their full genome decoded, which you can do now for $5,000. It'll probably be less than $1,000 soon. And then you get the full Monty, you know, everything about your genetic history.
The full Monty? Is
Indeed.
That the scientific, technical way of describing it?
I believe so.
I see. And the 23andMe, I mean, we've seen those commercials on TV. What do you actually learn when you do 23andMe?
Well, you learn little things. The important thing you learn from that, for me, is you can learn if you're going to be a responder or a non-responder to certain drugs. So that's what's really useful now. There's all kinds of useless stuff in there, and you actually learn good genealogical information. That's one of the biggest selling points. You can learn, you know, I'm 4% Ashkenazi and 32% Irish. You can learn that from, and that's fun, but it's not really medically useful.
Right, but is it accurate?
Yeah, it's probably pretty accurate.
Pretty accurate, yeah. Okay. Have you done this?
I've not done it, and I probably wouldn't do it until this bill passes.
How come?
Right now, what we have in Canada is there's no regime to protect anybody from having to reveal their genetic information. And so someone could use that information against me for employment or even in politics. They could say I was susceptible to a certain illness or a particular condition or problem. They could use it against me in an insurance, a desire to buy some insurance, health insurance. An employer could use it. It could be used against me in a family court if I was trying to get custody of a child. It's very dangerous right now, and a lot of people have taken these tests that actually have put themselves at risk. And more importantly, there are parents and individuals who aren't taking the tests because they have that information. They know it's risky, and doctors are very worried that they're not able to rule out certain illnesses. They can't prescribe the best drug regime because they don't have the right information.
So you see an absence of legal protection in Canada right now.
Absolutely.
That you're trying to deal with this bill.
That's right. And I'm new to this issue. It's not something I was an expert on. It's Senator Jim Cowan has been working on this bill for several years. I picked it up because, well, I like to be a lawmaker. And this is one of those very rare opportunities for a backbencher to step up and say, there's a bill that can actually help people's lives, help their health care, help their make better decisions, and improve health.
I think that's actually part of the job description, isn't it?
I had hoped it would be, and I think I'm sort of showing how you can do it. And it's when Jim Cowan started this bill, there were something like 3,000 genetic tests available since the discovery of the human genome. Today, I believe yesterday it was like 38,000. Today it could be 39,000. The number of tests are exploding, and this is 21st century medicine. And it is changing the face of medicine the way antibiotics change the face of medicine. And yet we need some legal protections to make sure it's not misused.
Yvonne, let me follow up with you. Have you had it done, your own personal
No,
genome
I have
testing?
not, for the exact same reason.
For the same reason.
I have been at the forefront of research in this domain for the last 15 years. This has been my focus in trying to investigate the nature and extent of genetic discrimination across the country.
So do you recommend people not do it?
I recommend, in the absence of legal protections at this current moment, to unfortunately adopt some sometimes backwards measures to protect themselves a priori before proceeding with genetic testing.
So would it be better then if everybody did it, as opposed to just a small chunk of the population, and therefore the potential, theoretically, for discrimination is much less?
Certainly that is the hope with precision medicine initiatives, that we have everybody in the population sign up for research studies, have their genome decoded, as Andre had indicated, so that we can harness the potential of genetic information to identify root causes of diseases, understand their disease etiologies, be able to predict and avoid and prevent diseases in large swaths of the population. And certainly that's the hope. And hopefully Canada will be on board.
Let me give you an example of that. Just last summer, people have been studying prostate cancer for a long time. And some people get prostate cancer and it advances quickly and they die relatively fast. Could be 6, 8 months, 18 months. Other people, like my dad, have it for 20 years. And they've been looking.
They don't die of it.
They die of something else usually, or it finally gets them if their heart is really good. The reality is that researchers have been looking at the different cancers. And last summer it was discovered that, and it's not 100%, but a large number of men who have rapid onset or quickly metastasizing prostate cancer have a different gene than the men who don't have it. So if I'm a physician and a patient and we're in a discussion about what kind of treatment we should have, should it be, a more radical treatment or a slower treatment? Having that genetic information can help the patient and the doctor get the right course. It's not 100% predictive. And this is the other problem, is that the genetic information that we're getting is not absolutely predictive. What it is it's one of the tools in the toolkit for smart physicians, smart clinicians to help a patient.
So it's indicative, but not necessarily predictive.
Predictive, exactly. And we don't want to overstate the case. Like if someone finds out they have the BRCA1 gene, they're not absolutely...
BRCA, breast cancer.
Breast cancer gene. They're not absolutely going to get breast cancer. They may have a higher likelihood of getting it, but there are other factors, cross-genetic factors, there are lifestyle factors, there's environmental factors, and we're worried that someone could assume that because someone has a genetic predisposition, they could use it against them, and they're no more likely than someone else to get the disease because of the other factors.
Andre, I'm going to get you to follow up. Do these tests cause unnecessary worries in your view?
Well, they can cause unnecessary worry. I think we just, you ask people if they had been tested. So I did 23andMe. I would do a full genome test in a heartbeat if I could afford it. When it comes under $1,000, I might do it. And the reason is because I think there's much more promise than there is peril. I think there's good elements to this bill, but the worst thing about it to me is it perpetuates this fear that this evil genome stuff is out there and we're all going to be, classified by our genes and discriminated against. And I don't think that's the reality. The reality is we have all kinds of discrimination in society, using the true sense of the word, making distinctions, nowhere more so than in the insurance industry. And this is just another tool. So I hope that people won't be scared off by the notion that insurers are discriminating against them, because they already are. and they're going to be able to do so in a more precise fashion. So I
Yvonne?
think there's more benefit than harm.
Do you see a Gattaca-like future here if Rob Oliphant gets his way?
Well, it's actually before Rob has gotten his way. We have already identified that 40% of the population that we've surveyed in our work have identified the fact that they've experienced at least one form of genetic discrimination.
So this is a thing?
Oh yeah, it's not a myth. It's not only a theoretical concern. It very much is a pervasive, widespread phenomenal
Among
issue.
the general population?
The population.
Not just in a subset that may have Huntington's.
That's right. So within that subset is specifically the survey results that we've studied. Now, what we've also been able to do is compare that research to very similar type countries which have the same or similar type of healthcare system like Australia that have done very similar work with a broader range of their population that found very similar estimates and occurrences of discrimination across life insurance, long-term disability, just like we have, in terms of insurers actually denying applicants life insurance or long-term disability outright, or charging them exorbitant rates, and in fact pressuring them to undergo genetic testing in order to qualify for insurance. And this goes beyond insurance, as the bill does aptly. This is, as Rob has indicated, issue of adoption, courts, custody and access, access to assisted living housing for families.
Well, let me follow up on that with Rob, because, and Andre just mentioned it a second ago. We do, insurance companies discriminate every day. I mean, they're in that business. They discriminate on the basis of gender, on the basis of how much you weigh, on the basis of how tall you are, on the basis of whether your grandfather, your parents had, these kinds of illnesses that they worry about. So why shouldn't they be able to use genetic information as well?
What we worry about is they're using information that they don't really understand. And that this is such new science, this is such an emerging field, that a little bit of information can actually cause wrong decisions. I actually agree with Andre. I actually agree. We don't want people to be afraid. We want them to embrace this information. It'll help them. But it's complex, and it needs to be walked through very carefully. It's not just about their ethnic makeup. This is quite important information. It could lead to lifestyle changes or improvements, or it could indicate a treatment option that would be more advantageous. But people should not be afraid. Absolutely, our goal is this legislation passes. We think that the research opportunities, and Canada's a leader in some of this research, and we have some wonderful entrepreneurs that are actually leading in this, and we want them to do it. And it's my hope is that we will unveil this and say there is benefit in it, absolutely tremendous benefit from the clinicians. I mean, talking to a clinician, a physician at Sick Kids Hospital who does research and clinical care, he said this week to me, several times a month, there are people who decline genetic tests for their children, and it ties the hands of the caregiver. It just ties the hands. We want to unleash that, and I think we can do it quite easily. I mean,
But help me understand this more, Andre, because if I'm selling life insurance and you smoke, I can discriminate against you and charge you more because you smoke.
Absolutely.
it's proven.
Yeah.
It's proven that smoking does
right.
lead to that.
Or if you're 100 pounds overweight, I can charge you more because, again, for the same reasons. How about if we have this genetic test that shows you've got a predisposition, not necessarily predictive, but indicative of some kind of cancer? Why shouldn't I be able to charge you more for that too?
Well, I think you probably should, and I think it's true. So a lot of this information is imprecise, but so is lots of the information used now. So I'll pay higher rates if I have high blood pressure. What's the evidence on that? Well, sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's no big deal. So why don't we have a high blood pressure non-discrimination act? Who's discriminated against more in our modern society than people who are obese? They need some protections for real existing discrimination, not these sort of vague fears. I think, and there's no question there's some real stuff, real discrimination, but again, it tends to be for these monogenetic diseases like Huntington's. To be honest, they're already discriminated against. You fill in a questionnaire. When I fill it in, it's going to ask me, any Huntington's in my family? If there was, an alarm bell is going to go off because it's a very strictly genetic disease. Your chances are going to be much greater. So you're going to be paying a higher premium like that.
But that's not really discrimination. What that is
Absolutely
a
it is.
discernment of risk analysis, and that we understand that, and we are not trying to rewrite the way the insurance industry works. We get that. They do risk analysis, but their analysis of this bill and of this kind of legislation has been so faulty because and I've had actuaries help me with this to say they're actually making mistakes on this. They're jumping to conclusions. Recently, they've announced they'd like to have some voluntary limits, that they wouldn't ask for information up to a certain level of life insurance. We in Canada have never let human rights be a voluntary thing. And this is it's our genetic makeup. There's nothing more fundamental than that.
Okay, but what about his point that we don't right now have I'm going to get the title right, we now don't have a Obese People's Non-Discrimination Act. We're just going with a genetic non-discrimination act.
And trust me, I will fight discrimination anywhere. And this happens to be the one I'm doing right now. We can take on other issues over time, and absolutely, there are different things that you need to do with different communities. This community, and I was a health charity executive for 4 years, I looked at this issue and I thought, this is something legislative we can do to improve research, improve health outcomes, improve people's lives at very little cost.
Yvonne.
The reality is, though, scientists themselves are still figuring out the meaning of the genetic information. We are using these powerful sequencers to decode genetic profiles of individuals, and yet only a fraction of all that information is currently understood. Scientists, including teams that I work with, are still grappling with what is mostly uncertain medical information. And so if we as experts are not in a position to make meaningful judgments on the medical utility of that for our patients, how are we expected for non-experts like the insurance industry to do that for us?
Let me follow up with Andre on that. Let's do a for instance here. The Canadian Life and Health Insurance Association has put the following forward. It would not require customers to take genetic tests when buying insurance, but if those customers did it voluntarily, they would be required to present the information on those genetic tests, the results, if they wanted insurance coverage of more than $250,000. Is that a compromise you think you could live with?
I think that's fair, because what are they protecting themselves against? They're protecting themselves against, say I get my 23andMe and I'm a woman, I have the BRCA gene. Oh, maybe I'll load up on insurance. I might as well buy $2 million because maybe I'll be dead by 40.
So there's no evidence anyone does that.
No,
people buy
but there's no evidence. There's not a lot of evidence we discriminate either. So
They buy insurance.
Oh, hang on. Did you hear what he said there? He says there's no evidence of discrimination either.
Oh, but there is.
Yes, there is.
There is actually. And that's why I would
Widespread?
disagree with Tim Caulfield on those points, because we have it. It's interesting. There was a thought about getting patients, real patients, on the show today. We can't get them to talk about this.
Why not?
They will not come out of the closet because they're afraid of discrimination. That's real. It's not just a perception. They have experienced these problems in their lives, and they are now actually shying away from any media on this.
If that's true, why is he so skeptical about it?
Well, he's a smart guy, and I read everything he writes, and I agree with most of what he writes.
Just not this.
On this one, I don't agree. I think this is an opportunity for us to open up a door and have a discussion. And it's even a good discussion for the insurance industry, because one of the reasons we buy insurance is to pool our resources and share our risk.
Share the risk.
That's what we do. And what we're saying is that we need to keep doing that in the insurance industry. The Privacy Commissioner of Canada has done 2 studies on this and has experts on the evidence, and I said there's no evidence to say insurance rates would go up beyond a small amount, and that the incidence of people taking out insurance would rise dramatically. Yeah. People buy insurance when they can afford it and for the needs they perceive. I think we should, if I were going to amend the bill, I might add that we could review this in 5 years to see if it's affecting. But right now, I think Canadians, the style of what Canada is we share our risk. And we want to do that. So if I'm the unlucky one that gets a genetic disease, you and I are going to both pay our own premiums together, and we're going to, if I don't claim my insurance, hallelujah.
Right.
Yvonne.
No, that's all fair points. What I'd add actually is the fact that insurance increasingly plays a very fundamental role in our society for creating an equal level playing field for Canadians to participate in as equal citizens you need life insurance to get a mortgage. You need life insurance to open up to get a small business loan. You need life insurance to open up a health practice. And if increasing communities and proportions of our population are being effectively shut out of that market and participating equally in our society, we're going to increasingly marginalize individuals. This isn't about Huntington's disease. This isn't about the rare disease communities. Genetic testing is moving beyond the specialty genetic clinic to be used for many different types of patients. Patients that are being prescribed medications to see if they're going to have adverse drug reactions, to see if they're slow or fast metabolizers, and if they're at risk for bleeding out or having no effect to the drug. Absolutely. We have oncology centers that are sequencing, scanning tumors, the entire genetic code of tumors, to match and tailor-match treatment to that patient's cancer. And I mean, that's the epitome of what we can do with precision medicine. But also the discussion and the focus on insurance also paints this picture, this misperception that this bill's about insurance when it's not. It goes way beyond insurance, and this measure about what the insurance industry, this guideline that they suggest will rectify the situation. Well, in fact, they've had agreements, voluntary agreements in the past, where they advised their agents not to request an individual undergo genetic testing. Well, in fact, time and again, my research has shown, as has others, that significant proportions of applicants are being asked to take a genetic test.
They are being requested to take that genetic test.
Absolutely.
By the insurance agents.
By insurance agents. Now, are those...
Is that legal?
I would say it's unethical.
It's unethical.
It's unethical, but not illegal.
It will be illegal.
It will be illegal. Okay, so why are you from Missouri on this still?
Well, let me be clear that I'm really strongly supportive of the human rights aspects, the labor aspects of the bill. I think the insurance one, I don't want to be here defending the insurance industry. There's lots of problems, but let's fix the problems. It's not just about genetics. There's all kinds of unfairness in insurance. All the things you need this to buy a house, et cetera. That happens for people now with high blood pressure. If it's going to happen because you have gene number 32X, that's no better or worse. That's my issue, is that why are we making these special rules for genetics when we should be embracing genetics and making it part of our everyday medical practice?
Totally agree.
There, all done.
Totally agree.
My work here is done.
But it doesn't preclude getting this bill passed to open that door. So let's start unpacking how it is we discriminate in our society. The way Canadian human rights legislation works is it puts all the onus right now on the affected, discriminated person to take an action against someone else. What this bill does is actually, I call it a three-legged stool. It changes the human rights code to add those words, genetic characteristics. It adds some labor legislation. It also creates a standalone act to make it a criminal offense to engage in that kind of discrimination. This is, I think, again, a 21st century. So it doesn't put the onus on a sick person to go forward against a great monolithic industry to try to present a case.
The onus is on them.
The onus is now the state does that. The Crown does that.
Where's your bill at in the whole...
Oh, we're very close. So this could be the best Valentine's Day gift that we could give Canadians, that on February 14th, we get to third and final reading in the House. It's passed the Senate. This started in the Senate, so it passed the Senate unanimously. After the Human Rights Committee there did it. It is. It passed at second reading unanimously in the House of Commons. It went to Justice Committee, and despite constitutional arguments and other arguments being made, the Justice Committee sent it ahead with only one small technical amendment, fully supporting the three aspects of the bill. These are smart people in the Justice Committee, all parties. It now goes on February 14th for third and final reading. We hear the government is still antsy about it. They have some constitutional concerns.
What do you mean, the government? That's you guys.
No, I'm in the third row. The government has some valid, and I'm going to say that the lawyers will argue about the federal government's right or responsibility to legislate in this area. I get that. We had 4 constitutional experts at committee. 3 of them said this is within the jurisdiction of the federal government to do it. 1 said no. Well, that's pretty good, 3-1. We'd win at the Supreme Court 6-9. The lawyers will argue this. I get it. What this is put the legal arguments over there. If it needs to go on further, someone else will do that. I care about the health of Canadians. I care about changing the way we do human rights. I care about trying to open up our research capacity in this country, build the entrepreneurial spirit to make sure that companies that are doing this work can do it.
Who's the minister responsible for this, or under whose purview would this
It
go?
would be the Minister of Justice.
And is she on side?
She doesn't seem to be fighting it.
Well, that's not exactly on side.
It's not exactly on side yet. I've had indications that they still have concerns. But in the end, it's Parliament, the House of Commons, that will make this final decision. And I have been overwhelmed by the support. This is real. This is real for people, and it's regional in this country. People in Newfoundland, people in northern Quebec, in the Saguenay, Lac-Saint-Jean region, people in Cape Breton, communities like Ashkenazi Jews, people like Mennonites, Doukhobors, Amish, and there are different communities in this country that have disproportionate amount of genetic illness. This is and it's not all of us. I don't think it's going to affect me. So it's not about me, and I'm kind of in the majority on this.
So you think
this is about helping some groups that could be discriminated against and showing the world what Canada's about.
Yvonne.
Right now. But in the future, this is going to affect all Canadians.
All Canadians, you're right.
We are increasingly using genetic testing beyond just these specific communities to tailor the type of medicine,
But if we get this Valentine's gift, as Rob has described
which
it,
would be excellent.
you think it would be excellent, in which case, after it passes third reading of the House, and then the Governor General presumably signs it, and it becomes law, would there then be any reason for people in Canada not to take these genetic tests?
It would alleviate a major concern, a significant barrier why patients and their families are actually asking them not to take genetic testing, which would also impact our overall health care as a nation and our costs going down the road, because you can imagine the amount of preventative health care that we're going to be able to begin across the population.
This saves money. And also, legally, there'd be no impediment. This obliterates that. However, I was a United Church minister for 25 years. I dealt with families all the time. People are afraid to go to their doctor sometimes. They discover a problem. They don't want bad news.
Yeah.
And my job as a pastor is always to say, go and get the news so you can act. Get the news. So we'll stop the legal impediments. That's what we can do as a society, legislatively. There's still going to be Canadians still need to talk about this and own their own health care, own their own agenda, get in and work with their physician to get better health outcomes. So it still needs to
Andre,
help.
let me give you the last word on this, which is technology is changing so rapidly in this country. How future-proof, if I can use that word, do you think this bill, if it passes, will actually be?
Well, I think this bill is largely motherhood. I don't think February 15th the world's going to be any different. I don't think the insurance companies are going to be any nicer or less nice to us. But I hope, I wish we could legislate away fear. That's what I would say finally. And if it achieves that, that would be fabulous. But I hope people embrace the promise of genetics, have some skepticism about how little we know. But I think there's so much promise there that I don't like to get bogged down in these little, let's not get tested. Let's plow ahead.
Sounds like you still got a bit of a job on him to
I
do.
was just thinking, no, actually, there's not much daylight between us. There's not much daylight between us.
Just a little bit.
I think all,
a
at this
little bit.
table, we all have the goal of having Canadians have better health outcomes. This is a small part of it, a legislative part. I'm counting on Andre to write those columns and get Canadians out there and absolutely help take
And this bill can do
care of the
that.
health.
It could dispel fears and have an opportunity to educate Canadians about what's happening in their families, the opportunity to get genetically tested, and dispel those fears.
And I think finally, Steve, I think we have to remember, we haven't said this, but in Canada, we don't discriminate against people in our health system. We have universal health care. So this kind of bill is much more important in other countries where you pay for health insurance. So this is a life insurance, a fairly marginal issue for a lot of Canadians who unfortunately can't afford life insurance.
Interesting. Thanks for this. Good luck
Thank
on
you.
Valentine's Day.
Well.
Hazel McCallion's birthday, too, of course. That's Rob Oliphant, the Minister of the Cloth, as opposed to a Minister of the Crown. He's the Liberal MP for Don Valley West. Yvonne Bombard, the scientist at the Leakashing Knowledge Institute at St. Mike's Hospital, and Andre Picard, whose columns we do love reading in the Globe and Mail. He's the best public health reporter in Canada, as far as I'm concerned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Help TVO create a better world through the power of learning. Visit tvo.org and make a tax-deductible donation today.